Good evening. I'm Randall Stevenson, Chairman and CEO of AT&T, and I'm pleased to welcome you to this very special gala. We're here to celebrate 20 years of incredible music and unforgettable performances in the cornerstone of the Dallas Arts District, the magnificent Meyerson Symphony Hall. A thriving arts community is one of the many reasons Dallas is a great place to live and work. In fact, that vitality is one of the reasons we decided to make Dallas our new headquarters city. So on behalf of all of your new neighbors at AT&T, I want to thank you for coming out tonight, for supporting the arts, and for supporting the exceptional artistry of the Dallas Symphony Orchestra.
The board discussed it, and the problem was that we had plenty of seats at Fair Park, and it was a good location and everybody could park, etc., but it was so cavernous that the acoustics were bad. And so everybody knew that we had to have great acoustics to have a great orchestra to ever get on the map of classical music. So it was decided on the board we should build a new one. I took a trip and went to San Francisco. The hall in San Francisco was in the process of just about opening, and I met with the man that had the same position that I had, and I spent a day and a half with him. And I said, tell me all the problems and what do you have to deal with, and he told me. And I said, we hope to have a hall in 5 years. He said, it will take you 10. And I said, impossible, we do things fast in Texas. Of course it took 10.
I think if you had to look for the spark plug that started out with the vision, it was Margaret McDermott. She says Dallas needs a great symphony hall because we can have a great hall, we can have a great symphony.
Now, 20 years later, Dallas has both.
It was important to me. I wanted the best, and I wanted the best. I always have wanted the best for this city, and I wanted to do it in our way. And our way was these wonderful people that started it.
People not only like Margaret McDermott, but another philanthropic woman who served as Dallas mayor.
One of the things that made this hall possible was the great cheerleader that helped see that this got through the city, and that was Annette Strauss. I can't understate the role that she played. It was extraordinary. This city owes Annette Strauss an awful lot.
The last thing that Annette did, and this is interesting, when she was diagnosed with a terminal illness, that summer, when she could no longer dial a telephone, she made me sit on the bed beside her and dial the phone so she could talk to people to make sure they were going to participate and support the 100th anniversary of the symphony. I could not understand how deep was her interest until that very moment. That was her last involvement in city affairs.
She was a force of nature, just like Ms. McDermott. Willful, smart, effective, and on several occasions she would call me and ask me to do something for the city, which I always did because you more or less did what Annette asked you to do. But in regards to the Symphony Hall, she had a place in her heart for this, and she really thought this was important for the community, and she gave us 1,000% cooperation and support.
I know that when the Queen of England was invited to Dallas on the tour she took, the one place Annette made sure she was viewed was the Meyerson. She was so proud of the Meyerson.
Mort Meyerson should know better than anyone. He served as chairman of the committee responsible for building the center, despite having just been named president of EDS by Ross Perot.
Ross very easily could have said, why would you want to do that? You know, we got a business to run here, kid. I just made you president, kid. Why are you doing this? But he didn't. He said, do you think that this is meaningful for Dallas? And I said, yes, I do. And he said, great. When I think of it, I think of an incredible building done by I.M. Pei, an incredible set of acoustics done by Russell Johnson, and I think of it as an asset for the city of the people of Dallas.
Although today it truly is, from the start it truly was not. An economy that had gone from boom to bust did not treat such projects kindly. Concerns that the center might not be completed surfaced often.
Within a year, it was very clear to me that this wasn't just a job. It almost was a career. It almost was bigger than life, and that's the way it took it on. We got Russell Johnson, who was a fabulous but prickly kind of character. He was hard to work with, but a genius. We had I.M. Pei as our architect, who was one of the greatest salesmen I'd ever met. But at the same time, he was very willful, and both of them reported to me, and it was quite a struggle over a number of years. Within 2 years, I knew that we had our arms around the potentiality of a fabulous thing for Dallas, but a dangerous potentiality, because we could spend a lot of money and it turned out to be average. It would be terrible.
This is a wonderful commission, but I've never designed a symphony hall before. So you have to take a bit of a risk, I said.
A risk it might have been, a masterpiece it soon would be. Thanks to the incredible talents of I.M. Pei and acoustician Russell Johnson, in addition to the unmatched commitment and generous support of so many giving individuals and corporations. Yet it was a casual conversation between friends and business partners, Mort Meyerson and Ross Perot, that finally landed the financial backing necessary and assured the naming rights.
So I went down to his office, I got an appointment, and I walked in and said, we have been unable to raise the naming gift for the hall because of the economy. And I'd like to ask you if you would be prepared to put up $10 million to name the hall the Perot Family Hall, or any name that you want. And I know that your mother just died last year. Maybe you'd like to name it in honor of your mother or your mother and father, or I don't know exactly what you want to do. But I think this would be a great thing for the city of Dallas, and I think it'd be great to have the Perot name on it. And he said, okay. And that took about 5 minutes. And I'd never asked him to give $10 million to anything. That was a lot of money in those days, particularly during difficult times. So I said, fantastic, Ross. Which of the names do you want for your mother, for Margot, for the family? He said, I want to name it the Morton H. Meyerson Symphony Center. And I said, Ross, I didn't come here to ask you for money so you would name it for me. This is embarrassing. I really am not a very public person. I really can't do that. So which of the Perot names? He said, Mort, you're not listening to me. I said, what do you mean? He said, do you want the money? I said, yes. He said, good, I get to name it what I want to name it. I said, thanks, Ross. And that's how it got the name.
He was instrumental in making EDS the successful company it is today. And he just had made huge contributions by this period of time. And I thought, well, who would be more deserving? He's one person I could think of in the company that loved classical music. So and he had certainly earned the right for that. And so that's how we came to that conclusion.
Groundbreaking was September of 1985. Lots to be done before the completion date, exactly 4 years later.
You'll find that the concert hall is a rectangular shoebox. What you see here, it's a part of a cone. These are all geometric forms, but they all join together at this one point. And this is why this space has that kind of unusual interest, for that reason. And it's not unexpected. We planned it that way, but none of us knew how exciting it would be until we actually saw it finished.
The authority on angles and architecture was becoming a master of music, but not without a healthy dose of drama along the way. Rarely was there a shortage of tension, obstacles, or controversy during construction of the Symphony Center.
signing the indemnity
I did not agree ever to agree that.
Get off our damn street then.
Every contractor over here is on a deadline to get it done by the 6th. I guess the tense moments come from trying to get all the entities to work together.
His temper was short and our temper was very short because we had worked, say, like for over a month without having a day off, and you know, they come in and practice a few hours a day and then they want complete silence.
Throughout the process, nothing was ever easy. Always issues to deal with, additional obstacles to overcome. Yet thankfully, the already generous occasionally became even more generous.
I and others had knocked on the doors of people would cross the street when they'd see me coming, which wasn't the most pleasant thing in the world. And I called Ross and said, we're going to have to go carpet. And you told me to keep you posted. He said, well, I'll give you, what's it going to cost? I told him $4 million. And he said, I'll give you the 2 if you'll raise the 2. I said, Ross, it's impossible. There isn't any money left in the community. I think we've sapped it all up. He said, well, I'll go ahead. I'll give you the other $4 million. So he really gave $14 million, but he never wanted anyone to even know that.
And I got another call from Annette, and she describes all this, and I said, well, it's really confusing to me. She said, well, go down there and IMP will explain it to you. So I went to the Symphony, and he said, each piece of stone is cut in a different dimension. And that's why it was costing so much. And I said, well, I don't understand why you have to do that. He said, well, come here and I'll show you. And he said, if you look up at the ceiling, see the lines in the ceiling? I said, yes, I do. He said, we're going to match those lines in the floor. And that's what makes it so expensive. And I said, well, who will ever know this at? And he said, I will know. And I said, well, you are I am pay, and I will pay. So I'll do it. And he told that story many times. He didn't take me seriously, so he got a good laugh out of it. But that was the tail end of the contribution. And so that was my part in the symphony.
Now, the opening is in September of 1989. We are in August of 1989. The contractors come to me and say, the marble that is going to be in the lobby can't be brought here because they couldn't cut it, because the labor unions in Italy are mad and they won't cut the marble, and if we don't have marble, we're going to have to sink the concrete. It's going to cost $1 million extra, which we didn't have, and we're going to have carpet, which we'll have to tear out a year later and put the marble in. I said, that's not workable. And they said, well, there's no choice.
So Meyerson calls Les Alberthal, his successor at EDS. Turns out he is an Italian-speaking project manager who can negotiate with labor unions in Italy. Now to get the marble to Dallas, he calls American Airlines CEO Bob Crandall. He offers cargo space on transatlantic flights, transporting the marble from Europe. When it arrives in the United States, Ross Perot makes a call to the U.S. Customs, explains the situation, and urges them to waive the 30-day quarantine rule for foreign substances and insects. The marble is immediately transported to downtown Dallas. Relationships in the working, teamwork at its best, all to meet the grand opening deadline of the Meyerson.
If Les Alberthal, the CEO of EDS, had said, Mort, you're retired, forget about it, it'd have been over. If Bob Crandall had said, it's too heavy or I'm going to charge you a lot of money, by the way, American Airlines did it for free, we couldn't have gotten it here. And if Ross hadn't have called Customs and said, let my marble go, we wouldn't have had it. It all worked. Now that's the way the whole project was for 10 years. We improvised, We got people to work on it. We had some good luck, and when it opened in September, we had marble on the floor, and it was terrific. When I think about it, it actually gives me chills, because I mean, the spontaneity of how these things happen, it's absolutely amazing. And it shows what goodwill was in the community and how many people played parts in this.
What is so great about the Meyerson is that so many hundreds of people, hundreds and hundreds of people take that bow. It's the whole city that gets the bow and the curtain call, if you will. As I said, Isaac Stern said it best, it's what Dallas thinks of itself. I love that line.
It is a great line, and it is what Dallas thinks of itself. And 2 decades later, the aura of pride and excellence is as much a part of the Meyerson fabric as it was 20 years ago.
I think people in Dallas take enormous pride in what's happening in the Arts District. I think for a long time we were not perceived as a community being one that was really advanced in the arts and the culture area. And I think that's why we've taken so much pride in it, because not only are we part of the pack, we're really a leader of the pack now with the facilities we have, as we've talked about, with Yop coming on, the performances will follow very quickly too. So I think it's that source of pride that people can look at and have a smile on their face and really see that Dallas is on the map in ways that we always hope to be, but we haven't been.
Pride and Dallas go hand in hand, and it was never more evident than 20 years ago this week. Opening night, the Morton H. Meyerson Symphony Center and the Eugene McDermott Hall welcomed the world.
Every time I go into that hall, the Eugene McDermott Hall, it gives me special pleasure. And you know, I don't think I'm alone. We're all proud of the Meyerson.
I think this is now the best moment. Look what you see behind you.
Yeah.
I think the most important thing to do here, of course, is to make music, not to make architecture. Whatever we do here will fail if it does not make wonderful music.
I always say the hall of the Vienna Philharmonic or the hall of the Royal Concertgebouw Orchestra is the best instrument of the orchestra. If you talk, for instance, about New York Philharmonic, or you talk about Chicago Symphony, they don't have this facility. So this match is quite amazing. And if you go back into the history of orchestras, of the great European orchestras, you can see that the Royal Concertgebouw, Vienna Philharmonic, Berlin Philharmonic, they always had great halls. So the match of being a great orchestra and having a great hall is a very important one to make history.